In today's edition of GSP interview, we shall be hosting our elder statesman in the society, whose name is Christopher Mamman. Who is Christopher Mamman?
Christopher Anva Mamman is an Eggon son that was born and brought up in Mada Station.
Okay.
The son of Mamman Aku and Ajigaku Injugu. Grew up, went to primary school in LGEA, Mada Station, back in the late 60s, and went to Mada Hills Secondary School, 1974 through 1979. From there, I had a short stint at SPS Kefi, then proceeded to the almighty ABU Zaria, where I graduated in 1984 and went for youth service in Ogun State. Came back to Plateau, had a short stint with the state government, and then left the shores of the country to the US. While over there, I had to change different positions in life and also what I decided to study, because God had made it possible that you pretty much could venture into any aspect of life. And I studied health and education management as a second degree in the US, and did most of the program, or rather finished the academic work in exercise physiology. Then decided at that point that I was no longer interested in studying because I was having so much pressure by the local community that I was living with to do other stuff. And from there, life took me through a journey of setting up a business, which of course got me into running a tennis academy, at the same time doing consultancy services.
Tell us something about this tennis academy. I'm interested in it.
The tennis academy is something that came up. I can say it started way back from Mada Station. At that time, we had
Mother station in Nasarawa, Eggon here.
yeah, Mada Station. We had a railway station
Okay.
where actually the train drivers, or whatever we call them, will usually come to stay overnight or have their offs. They stay there, and at that time they were playing tennis. Then every now and then I'll go to pick tennis balls for them. And then when I got to Mada Hills Secondary School, tennis was a big thing there, and some of the white men, they were playing tennis there. Mr. Remo, Hutchinson, and the rest of them, Babu John and the rest of them. Of course, we were fortunate back in the days. At that time, I think we had like 25, I think, of the 32 teachers we had in Mada Hills at that time. They were all foreigners.
25 out of 36.
Yeah, they were foreigners, even though the principal was a native, Minzam and H.E. Mamman, when I enrolled in the school. So I got interested in tennis because I had seen it in Mada Station, and how God
spared you.
Yeah, it just got me actually to the liking of Mr. Remer, who was a mathematics teacher, and he was the best tennis player then. So And I think I was one of the youngest, I was probably the youngest person I can remember in our class. So he would always have me come in to pick balls for him while others were doing some physical work. And so I got to learn tennis and I got to playing it a lot more. So I actually started representing the school from Form 3, which was quite unusual. And some of the senior
Students
students
were envying you.
they didn't quite like it. But when they see me, I was actually quite a natural. And I became a state secondary school champion, I think in 1978, thereabouts.
So let's fast forward to
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
Your interest in tennis made you to be able to have a tennis academy.
Yeah.
Is
So
this still existing?
no.
Okay.
Once I made the decision to come back home, I decided to leave everything out there. For a friend of mine, the only black person that actually came
Yeah.
and was able to work with me, I had like 5 all-white employees until I brought in Richard Akande.
You employed the whites to work in your,
Yeah.
your tennis academy.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So it's actually a gift. It's not, nobody will say, okay, he's responsible for this. Even the consultations that I was doing, it was just coming natural. And you have Army colonels, the best of corporate executives from the Triad area, will come. They just loved sitting, talking with me. Virtually every issue that you bring, I somehow will have an inspiration and to give an opinion. And once they go home, they try it, they come back, and before you know it, they were coming back with their wives, with their children.
To play.
And, yeah, and I was combining tennis teaching and the consultations that I was doing.
Do we hope here in Nigeria that you're going to bring a tennis academy to us?
No, the environment does not support such activity. I tried doing that in Jaws. I even got Milo Company. I got NASCO at the point. Milo International came, actually started funding it, but then people will always think that they are in there to make money. Meanwhile, it was not necessarily about money once I came to Nigeria. In the US, people had to pay. Anybody that would come sit down with me was going to pay a minimum of $45, $50 1 hour of discussion. And that in Nigeria, I could not bear that. Because
So we can't give you that kind of money.
So people actually do not appreciate such
Tennis.
such.
Okay, let's move on. You were at one time the ECDA president, that's Eggon Cultural Development Association. What year was that?
By 2012, I came back home, and the pressure to become ECDA president set in, and a number of persons that I actually adored and considered as mentors insisted that I become ECDA president. But then when I just opposed that with why I decided to come back home, I said, okay, maybe that's the direction that God is leading me. So when I told Baba J.S. Anga, he was at that time the chairman, Council of Elders, Elder George Bashi, he's now late. They used Professor Elias Anzaku, professor of economics at the University of Kefi, and of course my family members, and they were able to cajole me into accepting to become ECDA president.
I thought it was an election that
Yeah,
brought you in.
they offered to buy form for me. They were insisting
No.
to do a lineup. I said no. I think it took them about 3 months. I remember my in-law, Timothy Jato, he will always be in my house virtually 2-3 times every week in Rayfield, Jos, to say that I have to become ECDA president. So that they had even bought a form for me. So I now finally, after about 3 months or so, I went up to him one Sunday afternoon and said, okay, I've made up my mind. I'm going to contest for ECDA president, but nobody is going to sponsor me. I'm going to go there out of my own volition, and I did. I think one of the few persons that I consulted first, because they were already in the race, was now Professor Chris Abimiku, lecturer in economics at the University of Jos. So when I met with him and I told him that I have decided that I was also going into the race, he said, okay, if I'm going in, he was not going to contest. He was going to step down for me, that I should count on him for all of his support. And that's how I came into the race.
And the popular saying, Segodia came in. Because I remember at that time, once they see Chris Mamman, we talk about Segodia. Or the Ovesha or something of that nature.
Segodia, Ovesha. And actually, if people that knew me in Jos, it's a long history as to how this Segodia slogan came in. But it has to do with the evolving of who Chris Mamman is today. See, I grew up with the nurturing and tutoring that human beings do not suffer, and that anything that you do, anything that is coming your way, remember, both my father and my mother were always telling me that anything that you find yourself doing is coming, you're going across it. Yeah. You're not suffering, that you're working, and that is what God has destined us to do. And that God is going to use us, and if we do everything that He so directs us to do, then we're going to come out victorious. And that journey just went on. Everything that was coming my way on the tennis court, business deals and stuff like that. If you hurt me or you think you've maybe outsmarted me, you will come back and I will say good.
But was that also synonymous to the challenge of, I think when you were the president, that was when the Eggon people had a challenge of number 7 in the States. So was it synonymous to that too?
It was actually a carryover, because you can imagine by 1996 being duped 11-12 million naira back in those days. That was lots of money. And the guys would come and I would just say good, yeah. And it just got stuck. So when I became ECDA president and I was facing all of these challenges, whatever they tell me is happening, I will just say good, yeah. Okay, that doesn't mean that I'm surrendering. No, it's just building courage to do what? To face the situation staring at me with an open mind.
Great.
And I was always
grateful to
God. I said, look, you have made it possible for me to look at these challenges in the face. And you that have charted this course for me will see me through.
I remember when you were the president.
Yeah.
Something very significant happened at the Eggon Community Secondary School. I was there. The dream of the Eggon House.
Yeah.
And I think I was there at the foundation laying when Tiwa Danjuma was invited to actually lay, and he sent somebody, I think John Dara also, to represent him.
Yeah.
So what happened to that vision?
Well, this is what usually happens when there is no succession or succession plan. But in today's climate, they will say continuity is not there. And it's partly foundational because majority of what I've come to understand now is majority of Eggon elites and professionals who have the capacity, who have the exposure, who have had the privilege of going to school, being sponsored from their parents, working for peanuts. When I say peanuts, I'm talking about groundnut and whatever. Our parents sold, farmed, hewed the land to have us go to school. When they went, they became the best that they can be in their various professional callings.
Yeah.
But then they do not come back home to give back to the communities that got them to where they are, or to where they actually rose professionally. We are very quick to look at just the shortcomings or the problems that are facing us. We have not come to the realization that God allows certain challenges to come our way so that they can prepare us to face the challenges ahead of us.
Was that what happened to the vision of
Yes,
the Eggon House?
that is what happened. I'm coming to it.
Okay.
The vision for Eggon House
Yes.
is just one of so many other aspects of what Chris Mamman and his team had on ground once we were elected. In fact, before the swearing in, we had a meeting at my friend's place, Faith David Alu, and we had agreed on a mission, and that mission had a lineup of items. How do we restructure? How do we pull Eggon Nation back to his feet so that the old glory that started with Adamu Musa and Baba Magaji, who was the leader of Eggon in Kano textile, that's how ECDA came about. Baba Magaji was actually the initiator. So what happened was we had this lineup of items that we must accomplish within the first 1, 2, 3 years in whatever order. And Eggon House was one of such.
Yes.
Eggon House was premised on the understanding that we needed to have an entity that will speak about all of the subsets of Eggon Nation. If we say we're Eggon Keke, we must have the women, the youths, the students,
all housed
every other person, all housed in one place. And when I first discussed it, actually before I even became president, I started discussing with the late paramount ruler, Baba Abene Angbazo. And I told him that we need to have a place that we can collect our artifacts. That we, since he's always preaching education, we already have a Eggon community. I started by Adamu Musa and him, Balang Bazuden, and a few other persons. We need to now move forward with thinking of a University of Science and Technology or vocational institution that will churn out Eggon sons and daughters, because I realized that Eggons were the best that they could be anywhere that they find themselves.
Yeah, but Mr. President, sir, sorry.
Yes.
You know, the foundation was laid.
Yes.
But 10 years down the line,
10 years,
when you left that office, or even more, up to today, we have not seen the structure. That's my question. What happened to the vision? What happened to the house?
The vision was haunted because the leadership that took over from me did not follow up on the vision. We had a financial plan of how the place was going to be built. And we started the discussions with David Umgadu, who was at that time in the House of Reps, Dr. Kibu, Senator Solomon Ewuga.
Yes.
And I led a team of members of the Council of Elders, chaired by Baba Anga and Madaki Eggon. We went using John Dara. We even went to T.Y. Denjuma and a couple of times.
Yes.
And I shared this vision with him. And he told me it was great and that he was going to support this, but with a caveat. And what was the caveat? He said he was going to be a part of this project so long as we get started and the foundation comes up.
Right.
Now, because why he said that, I asked. So he retorted by saying, look, if only I know how much he had invested in various communities on such laudable projects.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, people will only collect his own money to go and buy cars or go on business trips.
Yes.
That never become fruitful. And so he was not going to dole out monies to us. He's not indicting me, but this is the decision that he had come to put on ground for himself and for his own family. And so that I should go ahead and do consultations as to how we can get the thing started. So we actually had discussed with David Umugadu. He was a House of Rep member. He had accepted at that time that he was going to put it.
Came in for the foundation to kickstart? Is that what you're saying?
Before the launching,
yes.
That is what we're getting at.
Yes.
And it's a long process. It took us more than a year to prepare for this project. You see, you are asking to just talk of that single day. But if we understand the background to how this whole thing came about, it will help us, because we are now talking about the history of Eggon Nation. David accepted he was going to put the foundation and probably the slab into the community project, since he was from the immediate community. And Dr. Kigu also said he was going to contribute substantially to taking the project up. Then Solomon Ewuga said, well, he had just come through legal battle, and he will also do his own bit to support once the project gets started. And so we decided to go on a goodwill train.
Egdas from different branches.
Egdas from different branches. We had started, in fact, from the first day, from the first NRC meeting that I had, I read out my acceptance speech. The issue of Eggon House was already there. I can give you a rundown of some of the activities we said we were going to do. My acceptance speech, I don't know whether somebody still has a copy. We talked about getting a cultural attire of Eggon, or reviving our own native attire, and we were able to do it. We talked about keeping in vogue, or with the Joneses. We're talking about IT. We had Eggon www.
The website.
EggonKekeng.com. And we talked about
President, sorry,
having Eggon House.
The point I really want you, because a number of persons are asking if this building is ongoing. I'm coming, sir. If the building is ongoing, maybe 10 blocks in a week or 10 blocks in a month, by now
the building
would have seen
far.
So what happened if that foundational time we have not, even the foundation, after the foundation lay, no block continued again?
Because I stepped out of ECDA leadership.
Exactly.
And the persons that took over from me did not see this as part of their own vision.
But you know, there is a saying that for you to succeed in life, you must have a good successor. So you have to follow up with your successors to succeed. That is the only time you will say you have succeeded. It means you didn't follow up with those that succeeded with you.
Yeah, if you say that, you're right if you do not understand the circumstances.
Okay.
Aha. When I left office, October 1, 2014,
For politics.
for politics,
Okay.
my vice president took over. And you know that such a vision, you must have the capacity, you must have the capability, the courage, and above all, the character to succeed or to carry on with such a vision. When you decide to carry on this vision, your integrity is going to speak for you. But then again, Eggon Nation was having all kinds of challenges.
At
Came
that
in time of war. I would say it was a war that sought to extinguish Eggon Nation. Thank God we overcame. But then the persons that came in concentrated more on working for peace and harmony with other ethnic nationalities in the state. And they set aside everything that we had sat down with the NRC, with the Elders Council, the Traditional Council. I had all kinds of consultations and visitations with stakeholders cut across all segments of Eggon Nation.
So do you think it's something that can still be achievable?
Very well.
If our leaders, current leaders,
if
the current
leadership today will take it upon themselves as a project that they're willing to show commitment to do it, to achieve it, they can very well do it. Because the groundwork is already there. On the day of the launching, you know, we had pledges of, I think, 78 or something million naira. I know that, yes, the chief launcher that day gave us a dollar equivalent of 1.1 or 1.2 million. This lady, that Honorable Labaran Mafu, she's the PDP lady from Benue. I think she gave us 500,000. Yusuf Agabi gave us 500,000. And so the rest of the pledges that day, all of it from Solomon Adokwe, from Aliu Doma.
Nobody followed up to collect them?
They were all empty pledges.
Nobody followed up?
Nobody. I remember that day, Dr. Kibu, Omgadu, and Ewuga, their pledges were all on the low side. My elder brother, Labaran Mapu, pledged 25 million. And then T.Y. Danjuma, he gave a pledge of 50 million naira with a caveat. Yeah, and his caveat, I already said, it was announced there. He said, until we are able to do the foundation and bring it up, he was not going to release that 50 million. 50 million was going to go directly to the contractor that was going to handle the project.
So Eggon people are actually losing a lot of money now for not being able to set the foundation.
And that if we actually carry on with the project and we are able to organize, given the permutations that he heard from security reports and whatever before the day of the event, as to how we were able to use our linkages and network to promote the project, that he was going to support the project to completion at different stages. That was the pledge of T.Y. Danjuma.
Thank you, sir. We will need to move on from here. You told us that you switched over from presidency into politics, and I remember you contested for the governorship at that time. So tell us something about your political experience.
Well, life overall is a stage, according to Shakespeare.
Yeah.
That is a stage where you come in, you play your own part, and you leave the stage. And when this project was the Eggon project started, we were able to generate support, and positive response from all of our sons and daughters from all nooks and crannies.
No, what I'm saying is you moved
The-
into
yeah.
politics. Why did you go into politics and experience in politics?
I went into politics um, in the middle of this good work that we were doing through ECDA.
Yes.
And as I said on the day of the my entry, of my formal entry into the gubernatorial race,
Yes.
I stated clearly that, look, we are in a rat race. And in this race, we have two Eggon sons who are all capable, who have shown great dexterity in the political arena. But their inability to agree with each other has led Eggon Nation to a situation where everything that is supposed to be a dividend of democracy was going by us. And we were not even smelling it, we were only seeing the dust. And you know, when dust comes your way, it just keeps messing up your own vision. So I
That was
said,
why you
look,
moved into politics?
yes,
Are you not supposed to? Were you not supposed to be a father to sort them out?
great
As a
question.
president?
Great question.
Yes.
All efforts from the palace that were made from the beginning at my own instigation with the paramount ruler. We had several meetings, and some of these meetings were headed by late Mvulanza, who was then the Makama, and Waziri, who is presently the paramount ruler. And our brothers will not show up. They will not come. And so the decision was made, okay, if these two will not agree to step down for one another, of course, I had private visits to both of them. This is what is going on. But each one I speak with is saying, no, I should support him to do this. And then this human thought process came. He said, okay, if Eggon Nation is able to rise up with such vigor, and we have two sons who are not willing or who are unwilling to work for the interest of the nation, you can tally that up with a saying that if, let's say, Ezekiel, the interviewer, has two children at home, and he goes out and he gets a bottle of Coke. He comes home. You know, when we were growing up, Coke was an elitist thing. And that was the example I gave on the day of my formal declaration. I said, look, if you have a bottle of Fanta or Coke, you bring it home and it is such that only one person can hold and take at a time. You have to take, open it, take, and probably remain some for your other brother. And the two brothers, each is holding one end or and the other. And they refuse to leave it. You, as a responsible father, what will be your own solution to the impasse? If you allow your two sons to continue to fight on this, they will end up either breaking the bottle, in which case a broken bottle is as empty as flat land. They will end up either breaking the bottle or they wound themselves, because as the bottle is breaking, the cork is there, you wound your hand, this one has this on the other side, and the father and the family have lost all. In which case, if you correlate that, you're saying Eggon Nation will just continually lose out. But a smart father will ask for the bottle of Fanta or Coke to come back to him. The father, being a father, will drink it and responsibly probably open it and put some in a cup here and there, give to the two kids to drink.
That was why you contested for election.
That you can very well say is the reason behind, this is foundationally the reason behind the entry into the political landscape.
Did we succeeded in collecting the bottle of Coke back to Egonland?
No, because
Haven't joined.
no, because the understanding up until 2 weeks, a week before the primaries,
Yes.
my message to both of them, I followed my brothers to their individual homes. We spoke. I said, look, you know that the Arangon, the Waziri, the whole traditional council were there present. They told you guys that I'm not actually in for this, that it was to get their consciences for one to agree to leave for the other.
But I expect you as a father to give the people direction and said, we have spoken to this person, we've spoken to this person, they disagree, but for we as Eggon Nation, this is where we're going. I think if you give your followers a direction, they should be able to follow you up in that direction and join in the race. And at the end of the day, the bottle of Coke missed.
Well, it's very
you get what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
But that's what a normal person would think.
If you're coming from somebody who actually does not know what is happening,
we actually don't know.
Yeah, you will say the answer could be this simplistic, but you know, and it is up to today, that the problem, nobody will say that the Eggon Nation has not tried to get the two to work together. Or
at that time.
At that time,
yes.
And up to now that I'm speaking, it is still the situation. And what I'm saying, even before I came back home fully, I had the privilege of calling these two big brothers of mine, and we sat for about 6 hours in a panel on the need for one to live for the other. And while we were there, it's as if yes, the deal was done. They agreed that by the next day, after 24 hours, it was a completely different situation. People or the veranda boys started writing all kinds of stuff, and it was not going to work. And I was privileged to also know when members of the traditional council at different points, elders council at different points, made the same efforts. For somebody who is not in the know of all of these efforts.
We actually were not in the know, so we asked questions because we're all novice. However, I'm grateful that you have been able to throw light into this matter that had bothered everybody in the community. Moving on further, you are a great entrepreneur because we can count on most of the businesses you're doing around now that keeps you going and all that. Tell us about your progress in entrepreneurship businesses and what do you have to say about the youths of today who just sit around and are not willing to walk through the paths of entrepreneurship and becoming great persons. Are you into mentorship and all that?
Ooh, Mamma Mia, you asked. It's a very good question, but it's just too many things lumped up in one. And entrepreneurship is good. It is something that I will always urge every youth to engage in.
Because that's what you're doing.
Because this is what I'm doing. This is what I was nurtured from childhood to do. How we raised money to be able to go to school. It started from there. You're always looking for something to do to go to school. But today, it's a different norm. What we were doing then kind of prepared us for the challenges that are looking at us in the face. To be an entrepreneur you must make up your mind. After studying, firstly, yourself, you have to know who you are. What is it that you love doing? What is it that gets you irritated? What is it that you cannot compromise? What is out there that has to do with who you really are? Then you just oppose your own beliefs with the realities on ground. When I say realities on ground, I'm talking about the challenges, because every situation, every challenge that we have in Nigeria today is an opportunity for youth to take advantage of.
That's right.
Aha. I have maybe 6 or 7 sons, not all biological, who have master's degree. They hear they want to jackpot. I say no. Whatever money you want to go and look for outside, there are opportunities here, and take it or leave it. There are more entrepreneurial opportunities here in Nigeria than anywhere else.
Great.
The major challenge that we have is, let's keep the government aside for a while, is the fact that people, or we as a people, are not willing to work or to work through the trenches. You do not want to work for what you want. You want everything on this platter of gold. And that is not tenable anywhere. Even the businesses I did in the US, for me to be able to start my academy, to do business registration and blah, 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 there was a time in my life that I was working 3 jobs in the US.
3 jobs?
3 jobs. And I know on the average, 6 days a week, I was working an average of 15, 16 hours.
Wow. So,
and I
have to tell our youth of today.
I slept in the car, and maybe at weekends, I would go visit some of my friends, just a cane chair in their own sitting room. That is where I would lay my head this way. If not, I was sleeping in the car for 6 months in order to save enough monies to do my business registration. And having done that, you now go on what you call discipline. You have acquired the knowledge, you have the certificates to do business. How do you now discipline yourself in order to make money that will actually be meaningful? How would you add value to the lives of your immediate family and then your own community? I made up my mind that for every $100 that I made, I was saving a particular percentage of it and nothing else. If I needed something, if I needed to buy shoes or something or clothes, I see that as a secondary need. I had to differentiate between wants and needs. And for me at that time, saving money and sending it home so that my extended family, children, and whatever can go to school was much more important than me living a plush life over there. And so it was a period of hard work. But when you're working and you do not take it as suffering,
you
will come out. I will always go to sleep. I know I was always moving around with an alarm clock. That is what, and by 5:30, 6 a.m., I remember I will always go to Mr. Biggs to do, I said Mr. Biggs, McDonald's, to go and take a cold shower so that I can be re-energized to go in for the very next job.
Day activities. Okay, that's fine.
And so, if you want to succeed here in this environment, you must make up your mind that yes, you're willing to sacrifice. If you're willing to sacrificially study whatever you want to study,
youths,
then come up.
If you want to succeed, you must sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Thank you, sir.
And the sacrifice is not just, you're not just going to start one day. Even to go to school is sacrifice. And while you are at school, it's still sacrifice because you're seeing your mates who have chosen to be wayward.
That's right.
But because there are so many more opportunities today to distract our youths, it is easy for them to get carried away. And that is where the self-discipline
comes in.
I used to call it when I was mentoring kids and adults in the US. I call it the 3Ds. You first must have the desire, then you must have the dedication.
The desire, the dedication,
the discipline.
And the discipline. This is the message for our youth.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. We will move further to EVG.
Okay.
What is EVG?
EVG is an acronym for Eggon Vigilante Group.